Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations in the Future of Work, a talk show all about where we're going in the future, where leaders are going, what demands there are on our leaders, and how we can solve those. I'm very excited to welcome a special guest today, all the way from Peru, Ximena Miro Quesada. Welcome.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for this amazing opportunity to talk about the future of work. Yes, I'm based in Peru. I work in Korn Ferry as a principal, and my main job is to advise CEOs, boards, and leadership teams across Latin America on executive search, leadership, and organizational strategy. I focus on building high-performance leadership pipelines and supporting transformation, working with AI across sectors like mining, financial services, and industrials. And I'm very, very happy to be here with you and to be sharing ideas about the future of work.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, we were thinking, as we were building out this season, it would be really fascinating to get someone in your position who's at the epicenter of demands for leadership coming from within organizations, and then the actual leaders themselves who are presenting themselves for these opportunities. So I think our conversation will be very interesting, and I would love to dive right in. So in your conversations with organizations and with leaders, what do you find are either the main leadership skills that maybe most people believe they have, but then when it comes to interviewing, and it turns out that they actually don't have these skills, or someone doesn't think that they have these skills?
That's a very interesting question and something that we have talked a lot about in Korn Ferry and with our clients. And I would have to say that the leadership skill most people believe they have, but actually don't, is self-awareness.
Okay.
Actually, thinking about a last conversation we had in Korn Ferry, we found that nearly 79% of executives have at least one leadership blind spot, meaning that they think they're strong in that skill, but their colleagues actually experience that same thing as a weakness. And this gap actually comes because leaders judge themselves by intention, but their team members actually judge them but by what they actually do, by their impact, not by their intention. So this is very interesting because, as you can see, people judge themselves by what they want to do or the intention they have, but that is not perceived by their co-workers or by their team members, because what they see is the impact that they're really, really having. And I just wanted to say that something that we are doing now is we're working a lot with AI to support these leaders in their development by exposing the blind spots in totally different ways. For example, a manager is gonna prepare himself to deliver difficult feedback to a senior team member. Then this person can practice the conversation and receive input on whether their tone comes across as overly direct or maybe insufficiently clear by practicing with the AI tools that we now have to work with, which are no longer theoretical. For example, Korn Ferry has integrated AI-enabled simulations and role-playing into leadership development platforms. So that is where we stand now regarding this point.
It's fascinating. There's a number of things that you said that I think are really important. Number one, there's that really interesting, a leader's own view of themselves or perception of themselves based on their intention. So I want to lead with empathy, and it is my intention to have everyone feel welcome, and it is right. And then the people who are on the receiving end of their leadership or who experience their leadership not seeing that borne out in behaviors. That is fascinating. How do you, I understand, because of course at Virtual Sapiens we do role plays to help leaders make sure that their communication is landing, particularly in pressure and difficult situations. But before you get there, is it through assessments, like 360-degree feedback? Like, how is it that you take a leader and hear a leader say, I am a very empathetic listener, and I am this and I am that, and then uncover that in fact they're not? Like, how do you identify those blind spots if these leaders are not identifying them themselves?
Mm-hmm. Well, a very important tool are the 360 evaluations. But what is very interesting is that we used to have these evaluations maybe once a year, some companies twice a year, but not very many. But now, thanks to AI, this is a continuum. So it depends on the leader and how he or she wants to prepare for what's coming up next with the tools that they have at hand to really understand how they're coming through to others. So these tools, like the ones you have right now, are actually helping this be something that they can work on daily and even practice. And this helps support a safe environment for feedback. So if leaders have a growth mindset, they are really able to hear that feedback in a safe space with no bias, because that's what AI tools can really give us, and then work on how to be better at being leaders. So this is actually a revolution in leadership, if you actually want to see it that way.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, because sometimes we'll hear from prospects or clients or partners, and they're doubtful that leaders, top level leaders, will either take the time or trust and value feedback that AI is giving them. And I mean, we've found that that's not the case, and it sounds like that's the same for what you all are seeing. These leaders are in fact interacting with these AI tools.
Yeah, they are interacting, and it is also an opportunity for them to see accurately their own blind spots. Leadership naturally creates distance from honest feedback. That's a reality. As leaders gain authority, people become less likely to challenge them directly or share uncomfortable truths with them. And there is also a psychological tendency to protect our own self-image. So leaders may unintentionally filter feedback, defend familiar behaviors, or interpret criticism as a threat that rather than a growth opportunity. So these AI tools are playing a very interesting role, because unlike human teams, the AI simulations can provide consistent feedback, judgment-free practice environments, and leaders are actually very open now to working with that.
That's music to my ears. I love to hear that. So let's say, I mean, I guess this is the reality, right? Is that there is this disconnect between how leaders view themselves and then how their behaviors are actually perceived by their team members. So what happens? Like, what's the consequence for teams and organizations when this happens? When there's this gap?
Well, actually, this gap is very linked to poor results for companies, because the leadership team is not working with their team, and then this creates maybe resentments or difficulties to work as a team and reach the goals of the company. So low self-awareness really impacts both the culture and the business performance. Trust declines, feedback culture weakens, innovation slows. So this is very important.
And does Korn Ferry have like research on that, on like quantifying that? Is that even possible, or is it kind of just generally known?
Actually, I have some data here. Please let me take a look at it. Um, Korn Ferry actually did an analysis of 7,000 professionals across 486 public companies in the world and found that poorly performing companies had 20% more leadership blind spots than financially stronger organizations. That
Okay.
is a very, very big ratio.
Yes. Okay, interesting. Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
7,000 professionals evaluated, 486 public companies, and we found that poorly performing companies had 20% more leadership blind spots than financially stronger organizations.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I mean that's fascinating. Um, because I think, unfortunately, right, we were talking about this actually before this recording, but um, as AI becomes more powerful and more used and more integrated, particularly for more technical or automatable tasks, these leadership skills around communication and rapport building and relationship building become even more important. And what I think is interesting is that we can use AI now in a way that we were never able to your point. It's like a revolution in empowering people to develop greater self-awareness, to have a safe space to practice, to get consistent feedback that's been vetted, that's not going to be full of judgment, right? And then they can see some real ownership, I think, over some of these power skills, right? Typically, communication and all these things are put in this category of soft skill, which I think discounts them unfairly and unreasonably.
Yes, something that's very interesting to your point is that now AI is available to anyone, anywhere. So, you have a conversation with your partner. You're trying to help your kids make a good decision in something that's very difficult for them. You have to take a stance in something in your company. Now AI is helping everyone think things through. And like in a book I recently read, think again. Think again everything. Because when you rethink and when you have the support to find very different hypotheses regarding one same idea, you're able to take a 360 look at what your intentions are, what your purpose is, and where you're going. So if everyone has these tools, then leadership teams cannot be blind to the use of these tools. They have to use them because coworkers are already putting into an AI platform, as simple as it is in your phone or wherever you have it, and asking, my boss said this. Is this good or bad? What happens with this? So everyone is thinking things through at a different level. So using these tools actually gives leadership teams an edge because AI is here to stay. And like Korn Ferry says, and it is one of our mottos this year, it's that it's not humans or AI. It's humans plus AI, what the world is now. So we have to work with AI. It's like having an attachment to our brains or to our thought process.
Right, like an extension of, which is really great. So, how does Korn Ferry then think about, because in the space of AI coaching, which is very different, we at Virtual Sapiens we view AI coaching as very different from what we do, which is AI practice and feedback and like behavior change, measurable behavior change. Very different from AI coaching. So, do you know, or either from your perspective, or if there is an official stance at Korn Ferry, where are they seeing the balance between we're going to have AI coach and support our professionals in these ways, and then we're going to have human coaches, still in the loop in these ways? Is that a topic that comes up at all?
Yes, I'm laughing because it is one of the things that we have been talking about the most last year, and it is something that we are now experimenting with our clients and working with the different leaders that are working with us. But I think that the more important question is, and regarding your first question about self-awareness and development, is that Korn Ferry has a very important stance that we have identified that self-awareness is foundational to learning agility, to adaptability, emotional intelligence, and to have future-ready leadership. So if you take that into consideration and you think about what's going on, what tools we have now, what is important is to work humans plus AI. It's not either or, it's and. When is it necessary? When is it not necessary? What type of person is going to be working in these types of projects? Maybe it's someone that needs to talk to an AI agent or to talk to a person every day. Do you have a consultant that can shadow a leader? Do you have an AI tool that would work better for this person? So I think it all depends on what reality you're working with and what the moment you are at with your client or with a leader you're trying to help out.
Yeah, I think it's very refreshing to hear the perspective of proactive, like future movement. Like to your point, like it's obvious that AI isn't gonna just be shut down and then we're gonna go, like there's no going back, right? This is a new enabling technology in the same way that cars replaced horse-drawn buggies, right? And so I think being aware of the context, being aware of needs, and available resources is probably also what it really comes down to. I think oftentimes there's questions around the difference between what AI can do and what AI should do. That is, of course, a whole other conversation, which I don't know if you have any opinions on some things that AI can do but maybe shouldn't do.
I think it has a lot to do with data governance.
Yeah.
So, what is the data that is building what AI is doing? If you have a good governance of data, if you are sure that it has no bias, if you are sure that the information has the IP of what you're working with. For example, Korn Ferry has so much information. We have assessments of millions of people around the world that are actually building on information on what works, what doesn't work, what is learning agility, what it is not, what works with this type of people, what works with those type of people. So actually, I think it all starts with the data. And then something else that is really important to take in consideration is that you need critical skills. AI is not here to become the leader that you should be. With your critical skills as a person, working with AI can help you become better, grow, learn from your mistakes. And that would be the best way to take advantage of this tool that can help us become even more human. And I actually had a quote I wanted to share with you that
Yes.
is that ironically, AI may accelerate the importance of deeply human leadership skills. As technical tasks become increasingly automated, qualities like self-awareness, empathy, adaptability, and communication may become even greater differentiators for effective leadership. And that is the main idea I wanted to leave with you after this interview, because I think that it is a different way of taking a look at AI and seeing how we can become even more human and connect more if we use these tools in an effective way.
I love that. Thank you so much for packaging that in such a succinct way. I couldn't agree more. And I think this ties back to what a lot of what we have been discussing today so far, right? Self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. If AI can help humans become more self-aware in a productive way that serves their leaders and serves their teams, that is a huge win in and of itself, right? That being said, AI can't be replacing some of those critical leadership decisions, struggling with options that are all impossible and knowing you have to choose one, right? Like that part still has to, I think, be part of the muscle that leaders are developing, and shouldn't be something we outsource or offload to AI. So it's all very fascinating. I think we're going to wrap up, but before we do, is there anything else that comes to mind or that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I was thinking that something that's a really important message, and it's just this tagline that we're using now in Korn Ferry, which is human plus AI. Human plus AI. That is what the world is becoming. And that is the reality today. So if you work with AI, you can win a lot. You can prepare better for an interview. I have used AI to prepare for this interview. I got ready, I did brainstorming. It was like having a friend to talk to and just think over ideas. And this is going to help different people grow that usually didn't have opportunities to grow, because AI is now in recruitment and it can help reduce bias, for example, with the right data. You can use AI to go to a difficult meeting. Before, maybe you didn't know where to start, and now you can think many ideas through. So using an AI to empower yourself is key in these times.
I love that. I'm excited for our community to hear this conversation. I think your perspective, and clearly it sounds like also the perspective of Korn Ferry and orienting leadership around leveraging these tools in a smart and safe way, is very clear. And it's, I look at this industry, obviously there are lots of players in this space, but I think, we're all part of this discovery together. And so I want to thank you so much for doing such amazing research. You've been one of our most well-prepared guests. So it was a total pleasure having you on the show. If people want to interact more with your thought leadership, I know I found you on LinkedIn. What are the best ways for people to follow you?
Well, I think LinkedIn is an amazing tool, and the algorithm actually works in favor of all of us. That's the way we got in touch, right? Because we have similar ideas we're talking about. We are trying to challenge what is going on regarding leadership and AI. So LinkedIn is an amazing tool, and they can also find me maybe by writing to me at Ximena.Miro.Quesada@kornferry.com by email. So
Okay.
yeah, you can always count with my support, Rachel. Thank you very much for this invitation. It has been a pleasure not only talking to you, but actually thinking about these things and preparing for the interview, because many great ideas have come up. So thank you very much.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you, Ximena, for joining us. And thank you, as always, to our audience. We will see you next time.